Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Audit Committee meeting on Monday, April the 7th. Individuals interested in participating in today's meeting were eligible to register online using the delegation registration form at www.kitchener.ca/delegation or via email at delegation@kitchener.ca. Any written comments received prior to the commencement of today's meeting have been circulated to members of council and will form part of the public record. The meeting live stream and archived videos are available at www.kitchener.ca/watchnow. We have a fairly short agenda, one item, and I'll turn it over to Karina to do her audit status report. Welcome, Karina.
Great, thank you, and welcome to the first Audit Committee of 2025. So today I'm going to be sharing with you the results of 3 different assurance audits, including audits of our city's fire life safety systems, our cash deposits, and employee parking tax exemptions. Also in progress at this time are 2 consulting engagements. The first one is related to exploring different service delivery models for custodial services at community centers, and the second is a service delivery and lean review of our concrete maintenance processes. So I'll start things off with the compliance and controls audit of our fire life safety systems. And just for context, these can include things like fire alarms, smoke detectors, sprinkler systems, emergency lighting, etc. So some of you who were on council at the time may recall that back in 2018, the City of Toronto's Auditor General conducted an audit of their fire life safety systems and found that there was widespread fraud from a third-party vendor that they were using for their inspections and their repairs. So the vendor was operating under several fictitious names, using staff who were not qualified to perform the work, and they submitted multiple fraudulent invoices, including duplicate charges and invoices, incorrect pricing, and charging for work that was not done. The most important finding was that their fire life safety equipment had not, the inspections and repairs of their fire life safety equipment had not been completed. During a municipal internal audit conference, they presented the results and urged all other municipalities to verify if we were using the same vendor. And even if not, we should still check that appropriate controls were in place to avoid having the same thing happen. So in response to this, I had conducted an audit in 2019 and found that we were not using the same vendor in any of its forms and that there was no evidence of fraud. The audit was then added to the list of recurring assurance audits and to ensure that we have continued compliance and controls. So the overall objective of doing this type of audit is to ensure that our buildings are not at risk due to ineffective inspections. That includes making sure that we continue to use a vendor that is not related to the ones used in Toronto, that we have sufficient controls in place for a vendor selection process, and that we can verify that all inspections have taken place and have been billed correctly. So for this audit, I interviewed the staff involved in the process. I reviewed the current tender specifications and prices, confirmed the current vendor, and reviewed all of the 2024 invoices to ensure that our buildings were inspected, that correct and reasonable prices had been used, and that there were no duplicate invoices or line items. So the findings were again positive. We continue to use the same vendor, which was verified and vetted during the last audit, and we have controls in place to monitor vendor performance and invoices, such as random visits to check the work in progress and requirements for quotes for anything over $500. I reviewed 174 invoices and did not find any duplicates. I did find some minor errors. However, the net impact was that we were slightly undercharged. I did note, however, that for some of the quotes for repairs, they did not separate out the cost of the labor and parts, and so it was difficult for me to verify if the prices were correct and reasonable. I've recommended that for the next tender, that quotes require a breakdown of both the labor and the parts. Overall, though, I'm satisfied that we are not at risk. The topic, however, will remain on the list of recurring audits and will be repeated again in about 5 years. Are there any questions about this audit?
There don't appear to be any, there don't appear to be any questions. So you can go ahead. Thanks.
right. So the next audit is one that I've done before as well, and it's part of the list of recurring audits. So the purpose of this audit was to document our current cash deposit processes and ensure that there are controls in place to prevent theft of cash. The scope of the audit included all locations that currently handle cash, but did not include testing any transactions or deposits of other forms of payment, such as credit cards, debit, or check deposits. So for this audit, I mapped out all of the individual processes at each location through interviewing and emailing with staff at each location who handle the cash. From there, I analyzed each location to determine if there were opportunities for theft of cash and what the total exposure would be if there were any control weaknesses. So the findings were very positive. First, our overall cash risk has decreased significantly. The total cash being collected has decreased by 45% in the last 10 years, with several of our locations now being cash-free. In total, there were $4 million of cash deposits in 2024, with 78% of those relating to property taxes and utility payments here at City Hall. I expect that this total will continue to decrease in the future with a trend of more online payments. Our risk has also decreased because controls have improved. So most locations now use point-of-sale machines to enter all transactions, meaning that a receipt is given to the customer and the transaction is recorded. This can later be reconciled to the cash on hand to deposit. Most locations have also eliminated inventory of items for sale, such as snacks and sundry items. This means less likelihood of theft of product and cash. In the areas where control weaknesses were found, the dollar value exposure was very low and therefore low risk. I did not make any recommendations for improvements in these areas, as the cost to implement controls would outweigh the theft risk. So overall, I'm happy with the controls in place. However, again, this topic will remain on the list of recurring audits. Are there any questions about this one?
Karina, you're doing such a great job today that there don't appear to be any questions on this item either.
All right. It'll be a quick day today. The final audit I'll share is a new audit of our employee parking tax exemptions. So city employees have been provided with an option to park their personal vehicle in proximity to their work location. Where there is a fair market value for the parking, such as in the downtown core, then staff are subject to a taxable benefit for the value of the parking. However, some positions are required to use their personal vehicle for work purposes. CRA has indicated that any employee who drives their vehicle for work purposes on an average of 3 out of 5 days, or 60% of the time, will be tax exempt. So management has put together a list of these positions based on known job requirements. So the objective of the audit was to test out those assumptions and verify that all of the staff on the tax exempt list did in fact drive their vehicles at or above the CRA threshold. The purpose was not to reassess 2024 taxable benefits, but to adjust the list for 2025 as required. This was a fairly simple audit, which included looking at the mileage claimed for each of the employees on the list and counting the number of days. In order to calculate the percentage of work days where the vehicle was required, I also factored in when they started or ended in their position for those that were only in their position part of the year, as well as deducting days off work for stat holidays, vacation, and sick days. From this, I highlighted any employee who did not meet the CRA threshold. So the majority of the staff on the list, or 42 out of 47, did meet the threshold. Of the 5 that did not, 1 employee was on the list in error and was removed during 2024. And 2 will be removed in 2025 due to some job duty changes where they're not driving as much as they originally were. There were also 2 positions on the list where the employees did not submit mileage claims, but who are required to drive regularly. So they will remain on the list, and further training will be provided to ensure that adequate records are kept. And in terms of next steps, I've recommended that if any additional positions are added to the tax-exempt list, that a similar exercise be completed after 1 year to ensure that they meet the threshold. And that Finance continue to remind staff on the list that it is their responsibility to claim mileage and/or record their trips in a logbook as proof of eligibility should they ever be audited by CRA. Are there any questions about this audit?
Well, once again, Karina, you seem to have done so well with your the three presentations that there aren't any questions on this one either.
All right, that's it.
That's it? Okay, well, thanks for your good work. This is an important part of, oh, you have a question now? Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your presentation. I'm just curious about the in-progress part of the custodial service delivery. Like, what different service delivery models are we looking at, or what are we reviewing?
So this is specifically related to one small task. Well, it's taking up a lot of time, but the task of setting up tables and chairs for different programs that are happening in the community centers. With the growth and the amount of programming that's happening, more and more of their time is being spent with that and being taken away from their custodial time. So we're just looking at what are the different options that we have to provide that service for our patrons.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Now there don't appear to be any further questions. So just once again, Karina, thanks for all the great work that you're doing. This is an important part of our financial oversight of the organization, and the work that you as well as our external auditors do. And so it's great to get these quarterly updates and see the work that's being done. So with that, I will take a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Chapman, seconded by Councillor Deneau. All those in favor? Opposed?